We are live here at Trusted Herd Live. That's why we're live. And we're here, episode number 9, with a very, very special guest, the CEO of the hype agency, Dayna Gilchrist.
Hello.
Hello.
Happy to be here.
All the applause.
The applause from my living room. Thank you.
Yep, coming live from the Hype's worldwide headquarters and Trusted Herd's worldwide headquarters. Mm-hmm. Just for everyone who's checking this out and is new to this, so like I said, this is Trusted Herd Live number 9. Thought it'd be cool with the downtime that we have to learn a little bit about the entrepreneurs and the people that we know and the agencies that we see, and learn their story and learn about them, because we see all these jobs all the time and it says the hype agency or any other company and you go, apply, $23 an hour, I'm in, hire me. But we don't know anything about these companies, and they have really great stories to be told. So that's what we're doing. Like I said, my name is Brian Fox. Feel free to hit that share button, share it on your own page, share it in your favorite group. We're going to be distributing this afterwards as well to some of the brand ambassador Facebook groups. And if you have any questions, drop it in the comment section, because at the end of this, we will get into a couple Q&As. So with that being said, and this being an event type of conversation, let's start about talking about nothing to do with events. So Dayna, when you are not doing the hype agency, and maybe not at this exact moment also, but what would people find you doing? What do you enjoy?
So I am a big adventurer. I've always been. I like to challenge myself. So when I'm not sitting behind a desk, I'm trying to scale mountains or hike. I have hiked some of the largest mountains in the continental U.S. with my husband. So I've enjoyed that stuff, and I was blessed with 2 boys. So they are like following in our footsteps quite well at 7 and 8. We get out a lot. We live in New Hampshire, so we have an office in New Hampshire and in Redondo Beach, California. And I mean, New Hampshire is known for the White Mountains and, backyards with lakes and plenty of places to adventure. So we do a lot of that. So, and then we just recently got a puppy. So that's been keeping us very busy. Just like many other people in the world right now, and we are stuck at home, working from home. We thought it would be a good time to get the puppy.
Yeah. So, what type of puppy did we get?
So it's a boxer, and we had a boxer till he was 10, and lost him about 1.5 years ago. And he's the best, and he's on the hype website. He was on the hype website. He's still on our wall in the office. He comes to work with me every day. So this is so we got Roxy. So we had Frank. Now we have Roxy. Roxy's my first girl, since I have 2 boys at home.
Okay.
So she's giving us giving me a little run for my money. I forgot what it was like. You have a little one at home, so I forgot what it was like. It's like having a baby again. But it's good. It's good. So we like to be outside. A lot of my time is spent obviously on the phone or dealing with clients and working in the events world. So whenever I can just kind of escape to a different place, that's where I hope to go.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about the adventure part. You said you've scaled some mountains in the U.S. Yeah. Tell us about it.
Yeah. So, I love to hike. I backcountry ski. So we are, of course, in the White Mountains. So I grew up skiing. I started skiing when I was about when I could walk, like 2 years old. And I met my husband, and he's a big skier. So we both go, we usually the folks that when we go to a mountain, we look for the trail that takes us off the back of the mountain into an area that we're not supposed to be, or that will challenge us. So we've done some pretty cool, if anybody's out there that's done, like Silverton Mountain is a pretty awesome mountain where you can do all backcountry, and it's really, really like extreme, but it's fun. Yeah. And then he grew up always hiking. I didn't grow up hiking, which is really funny. But he grew up hiking. And so when we lived in California, we did Mount Whitney, if anyone's done that. And that's out in California. And I think it's the tallest in the continental US. And we were doing it. We were supposed to do it on 2 days. But in our competitive nature, we're like, if we wait and we have to sleep over at base camp, let's just do it. And so So we did it in a day. I think it took us like 22 hours or something ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. All right. Well, learned a little bit about your background. And for anyone just joining, we're here with Dayna Gilchrist, the CEO of the Hype Agency. Feel free to hit that like button, hit that share button, ask any questions that you'd like to ask. Say hi. We don't bite, and we love to hear your feedback. So, Dayna, let's talk a little bit about the Hype Agency. If I didn't know anything about what your company did, and we had just met, how would you explain the Hype Agency to me?
Well, I love talking about hype, so that's exciting. So if you were not in this world, which I know you are, you live and breathe it too, we are a nationwide event staffing agency. We also consider ourselves an execution partner. So we really work with our clients hand in hand to help them bring their ideas to life. So if you knew nothing about the experiential world or what brand ambassadors are, we provide talent for different brands to obviously to produce, to promote their products and services. And we do that in a number of different ways. We have our own proprietary database. So you can go on, most of the people that are on your website already know that they can, create a profile. We match them with different brands, and our events are anything from street teams to tours to retail events, demos.
Yeah.
If you ever got a Kind bar in the street, it was probably from one of our brand ambassadors. If you ever got, tried a new, Coke flavor at one of the cans that passed to you. So yeah, I know you know it really well, but I always say to people that even if you don't know what the experiential world is or what event staffing is, most likely you've interfaced with them in some consumer form. So
yeah. And that's like always one of my go-to lines, because you bring up, oh yeah, I do experiential marketing, and there's like probably similar to your boxer right now, your brand new boxer that gives us like head nod, right? Like what is that?
Yeah, exactly.
And then you explain it. And what I always love is you end up seeing somebody maybe the next time, and if it comes up again, they go, you know what? Ever since you told me about that experiential marketing and brand ambassadors, oh my God, I see them everywhere.
Yeah.
So very, very cool. How about, let's see, we talked about a little bit, you introduced the Hype Agency. Before you got into the world of events, what were you doing?
Well, if we go way back, I've always worked way back. As soon as I could get working papers, I was out working. I had my mom drop me off at the local coffee shop so I could work. So I started when I was 14. I was a little, barista of the day working at a bagel shop. And so I worked there all through high school, right into college. I ended up working for a coffee shop then. I think it was because I always have like a ridiculous amount of energy and I'm always awake early. So like coffee made sense to me to work at a coffee shop. I was like, all right, I'm up at 5 a.m. I might as well serve people coffee. This is perfect. So I always, so I worked, and then I kind of stumbled into promotional modeling and promotional marketing when I was in college. It was this woman who had a studio in Rhode Island, and it was just one woman. She worked with a few different brands in the Newport area. And my friend and I would pick up gigs with her. Nobody really knew what it was then, I'm not gonna tell you how old I am, but it was back in the day where, it was kind of new. Yeah. And so then I graduated from college and got a job shortly after college at a marketing agency in Boston. Okay. And my primary focus was working as an event producer, really producing the events that needed event staff. It was buzz squads, college campus invasions. We did a lot of stuff that was really street team focused and movie screenings. So we relied heavily on event staff. And then I started to learn more about the brand ambassador world. So then I moved out to LA and was working for that same agency for a while.
Yeah. And so when you went to school, what were you studying? What was your degree in?
No, I went to school for marketing communications with and I slightly worked into the business world a little bit as well, but it was a primary communications focus. Did
you feel like when you were going through that program and learning about marketing, I assume, because I went to college in Rhode Island at Johnson Wales in Providence, and I had friends in the event management program, and even back then, this was early 2000s, experiential marketing wasn't really talked about, right? did you, but it sounds like you had an early experience in doing some promotional stuff. So as you kind of went throughout the program, did you feel like, hey, maybe the corporate event isn't really my style, or traditional meetings that you would get in conventions, hotels? I kind of like this experiential stuff.
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, that's how. It's so funny too, because I did work for a corporation for a little bit in the marketing department. I worked for Talbot's here in Massachusetts,
Yeah.
and it was a great company to work for. But it was that aha moment that I wasn't supposed to be a corporate person. Like I was like very like I was not. I wasn't comfortable there, just based on like what I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And so when I picked up the work with, it was Alloy Media and Marketing in Boston. And I just kind of, my degree took me there, my personality and what I wanted to do in terms of marketing, but I had no idea what buzz squads were or what we were doing in terms of guerrilla marketing. That's what the word, everybody was using. And, but it was like, this makes sense. Like, I get it. I love talking to people. I want to get this message across. This is what they do. And that's why I like gravitated towards the brand ambassador piece of it, because of seeing how important that component was. It was like, this is great. Marketing is wonderful. There's so many traditional fields you can do, but the non-traditional piece of getting somebody to actually interact with you and tell you about it, educate you on it, make it fun, make it different, think outside the box. That's what, like, right away. I mean, yeah, it wasn't something I don't think I took a single class that actually demonstrated that particular need. But, once I put it all together, I was like, okay, I get it. Communicate, it was all about really that type of, interpersonal, like getting people to get excited about something.
Yeah. And so then at that point, you're going from the East Coast out to the West Coast to California, and you start working for a staffing agency, right?
Yeah. No, I stayed with Alloy. So I was still with Alloy Media Marketing. It was 3 months after I settled in, and I said, this is exactly what I want to do. This is perfect. This is my calling. And they said they needed to move that group out to LA. Now I was 23 years old. So, I was like, okay, who's going to go? I'll go. So no, it worked out. I was out there for 3 years with them, but in their LA office. And I just slowly took over different parts of working through those departments and understanding what they needed.
Yeah. And with your time with that company, how important would you say that time was? Because it sounds like you spent a few years with them in kind of learning the scope of the world of event marketing.
Yeah, I mean, I think just being on the production side and seeing what goes into it gave me the bigger picture piece of it, and understanding, what goes into the back end, from the sales channel to producing the logistics of it, to understanding how you can actually make it happen, helps to implement how we can train and get the brand ambassadors. So I felt like at that point, there was just a lot of knowledge. There was a gap, missing between the people that were producing it and then the staffing agencies that maybe were called upon with limited knowledge and had to put the BAs out there. And so, my mission at the time was like, when we got to the point where Hype was born, was to really make sure that our team internally understands that this is not just taking an order and filling, warm bodies out there and putting them out there. It's, hey, who are they representing? What are they doing? Knowledge is power for the brand ambassadors. A lot of times they get a bad rap because they just don't know, they don't have enough information. They haven't been told enough about what they're doing out there. And I think me understanding sort of that circular mode, and being that I worked as a BA, as a promotional, a market, I was out there. I understand what I needed to be successful.
Yeah. When you live every kind of user, right? Every user, it's so critical, because you're able to see the points of breakdown easier, I think, and the points of improvement easier. So you were out in California, and then was it while you were out there you go, hey, I think I want to start a company?
Yeah, which was like, what am I doing? I have a great job. Why do I? Because I did. I had an awesome job. I had a great mentor. I had, it was wonderful. And I was in sunny California, but I'm extremely passionate about things to learn. And that as soon as I saw that there was this need, that what we were doing, we were putting so much time and effort into these amazing campaigns with these huge brands. And then things were falling because unfortunately, the communication, there was a breakdown between what we needed to provide from a brand ambassador standpoint. So I actually went to my boss at the time and I said, we really need to, because at the time they started building out sort of their own staffing department, just as many agencies think about, but it was never, they could never get the whole thing going, and with legally, it just didn't make sense. It's such a huge corporation.
Right.
So, he said to me, like, this is all great, but if you start it with us, it will be ours. If you take it out on your own, then we'll be your first client. And so, and maybe he didn't say it so packaged perfectly like that, but that's how I remember it. And, and that's what happened. So, it worked out. So, me and my business partner at the time, we just decided, let's do this. So, I remember even calling like my dad at the time and being like, so I'm going to leave my job and I'm going to do this. And, he was supportive, but it was like, do you feel like this is the right move? And I did. I knew right away that if we could put all those pieces together and make it make sense for how it's being executed, we'll be successful. And it was great. So I took a big leap and went off my passions and
that's a big leap, but to have that support of somebody that you knew so well in your own company, right? I mean, that had to feel validating in a sense that you had such this passion for putting those pieces together and making them operate right. And he or she saw that, right?
Yeah.
I love that. And so talk about a little bit about, so you go off and start the company. The purpose and the mission, though, behind it, was there something a little bit deeper other than him saying to you, hey, I think this is a great idea, go for it?
I think, I felt that there was a need that was missing. That's one of like a lot of entrepreneurs will say, if you're going to go out and you're creating something, you have to know what is missing. What are you trying to solve? And so I knew that there was this gap that I had the ability to fill. I had the ability to train the right people, the right employees to understand, what goes into the production side, and how do we bring it to the brand ambassadors to be successful. And obviously we're going to have, typical issues that go on with any type of event, but how do we do that? And so from a mission, from the beginning, we wrote our mission statement in 2006 without having any understanding of what hype would be, where it was going to be. It was just our baby at the time as we started to develop things. And our mission to just be the best staffing service for our clients and to produce it with passion and with fun has never changed. That has remained true throughout the entire, and that's how I choose, the team members on my team. That's how we choose our clients. That's how we choose our brand ambassadors. It's all based on that mission. I think that's where there can be issues in any type of company, is that if you're not always using that as your benchmark, if you're not using that as your way of moving on to whatever level it is, a lot of people will go for the big fish because, they see the dollar signs. They don't see how it's going to, affect the internal team. Is it going to burn everybody out? Is it the wrong type of program for, one of your event staff or your brand ambassadors to be out there? Are you putting them in a dangerous position? So, being, like we said, like you had mentioned, is sort of seeing that being on all sides of the business. I use that benchmark in everything we do. And I think staying true to that has kept us as being such a strong contender in the industry.
Yeah, I really like that. And for anybody who's just joining or have joined in a little bit later on, we're talking here with Dayna Gilchrist. This is episode 9 of Trusted Her Live, where every day we learn a little bit about the entrepreneur and the story behind all the agencies and frankly, event companies. Like, I've had a couple people reach out to me and go, hey, I really like this. Can I be a part of this too? I'm not a staffing agency. So we're going to be doing these weekly. But Dayna, you had brought up something that I don't think has been brought up on the previous 8 episodes, and that was the mission statement. And I always liked in college and business class that we had doing the mission statement, because not only was it the first thing, but it was like 3 to 4 sentences, right? And I go, perfect, check, done, feel accomplished. And then you get into like the bigger things and business plan and all that. Yeah. A mission statement is so important because it's like your North Star and it's being the first thing that you write. It's what you want to follow, and it's what you want your company to be tomorrow and 5 years and 10 years, right?
Yeah, no, your North Star is like exactly like how everyone should focus on whatever decision you're making in life, because, you know, I think that we get so lost. And when you're sitting, even as you started Trusted Herd, you're sitting around, you have this idea, you have this dream, you think about the way you want to, you know, make it all happen, but you have to know what is the ultimate, what is the reasoning you're doing this, right? Like, and how am I going to make sure that I make that a reality? And there's going to be times where, you know, you get tested on that, and that challenge, and you get challenged on that. But it's so important to just always remember that, to preach it. You know, even as a small company, we are constantly, we talk about our core values all the time. We always make sure that we're instilling those core values in everything that we do. We remind each other if you know, if we feel like it doesn't fit for some reason. And I think that those things are important for the outside world to see, that we have that respect for our brand ambassadors, that we're going through those checkpoints and we're making sure that we're setting them up for success at the end of the day as well.
Yeah. All right. So this is actually have become a little bit of my favorite part. The hype agency. Where did it come from? Where did that name come from?
I don't know. I was thinking about it. I was like trying to remember, like just sitting around and like thinking about our name. And you like see how I get like red, I get super excited, I'm super passionate. So I feel like it's just was like, we're hyping things up, you know, we just kept saying it. We kept saying, what are we doing? Like outside of why we're doing this, where, you know, it truly was the word that we felt we just kept going back to. And orange was our color immediately. I don't know why, but it came to me. And you know, it's part of like who we are now. Somebody once said to me, who like just knew me from the gym, was like, I never met somebody that actually like has a color associated with them. Like you literally are like, you know, and I was like, yeah, I guess I do. Actually, it's funny that I don't have like an orange cup here, because I typically do. But yeah, so hype was, you know, we were ideating, thinking about, okay, what is this company? Yes, we're a staffing agency. You know, yes, we're here to supply, you know, brand ambassadors and street teamers and those types of things for event. But that just, it needs to be a word that really shows what they're doing, how they're amping up the program. And hype was the perfect word for it, because that's what we do. Yeah.
And the exclamation point always part of it. Was that an add-on?
No, it was. And then we had, once we like redesigned it worked well, but yeah, we had to, like, you know, I think for the first, we probably had our original logo for the first 4 years of Insight, maybe around there. And then it was like, and we kept looking at our website being like, this needs, I mean, you know, you build something, and we had the little silhouettes, and we had all our colors were kind of, you know, we knew orange, but we had the other colors that didn't really match. So once we kind of brought it together, it had to be. And it's funny because the exclamation point you brought up, it does cause problems sometimes. So we don't know, we always want to write it when we're writing our name, but it's in the middle of the word. So it's like the hype agency, and when it's in the middle of a sentence, and we're sitting there like auto-correcting every time, because it's not the end of the sentence, obviously, but
every time we exchange emails, I find myself thinking that exact same thing. I'm like writing the hype agency in the middle of a sentence. I do type it with the exclamation point. I go, is this right?
I know.
Their name, but it should be in there because it is their name. So that's so funny that you bring that up. And I guess we know the logo as it is right now, but your very first logo, was that something that you took a stab at? Did you have a friend do it?
Yeah, so we actually called upon a company to do it for us. It was, the guys were on Abbot Kinney in Venice Beach, California, on the budget that we had, which I'm sure wasn't much. And they did great. Like, we did a great job in terms of, they listened to us. We, you know, created what made sense for us. It was the craziest thing is that we actually built a database at that time, like a functioning intake database, again, on pennies on the, you know, whatever we could scrap together at the time. But like, that comes back to the mission. And what was important to us is that we needed to build it right from the ground up. We knew we could, you know, build on top of those, make it fresher, make it better once we, you know, have the money to put into it. But we knew the groundwork had to be there. We knew that in order for us to start building those people and getting that to be legitimate and have them understand who we are and work for Paramount Pictures and USA Network and make sure that they understood that, you know, we had skin in the game. So we did have a company work for us then, and they built it out, and it was great. It was, you know, it did what it was supposed to.
What you just mentioned there too is so important. Like for any business, any entrepreneur, the foundation of a business, right? I mean, that again, it goes with your mission statement. It's like part of the mission statement. And that's what you're building off of. All right, so we got the name, we got the logo, we need a first client. Do you remember it? Do you remember the program?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so our first client was the company that I left. So I was with Alloy Media Marketing right out of the gate for Jimmy Kimmel. It was a door hanger program. Back in the day, we did a ton of, like, our programs were very, you know, door hangers, massive clings. We were campus promoters. We were always out, like, you know, canvassing the campus, trying to get people excited about either it was like a new movie. We did, when we first started, a lot of our clients were focused on the entertainment, like Paramount Pictures, new movie, new television show coming out. So yeah, it was, and it was, you know, I'm sure it was horrible. I remember, so it was just the two of us, right? And we're doing everything that now my team does, which is, you know, recruiting. So this is when we started, just to all the youngins that are listening, is that Facebook was at a time where you had to have the college EDU. In order for you to promote. But we were like, you know, there's got to be a way for us to reach to college students so that we can recruit them for our database. So we would get on the phone trying to find cousins and aunts and uncles or anyone who had some type of connection with, you know, wherever the markets were that we had the event, so that they would help us post on their Facebooks at the time. Like that's how we were using it. And so we were reaching out to them, we were recruiting, we were on the phone, you know, listening, checking them in, getting them ready. So yeah, it was crazy. It was, but no, I remember it. And the fact that for so many years, we did so much of that, you know, from the ground up. I have so much respect for my team, from everything that they do, from, like, you know, recruitment and check-ins and reaching out to these staff and getting their schedules in place and all that stuff, because I did it. I did it for many years.
There's a little bit of a pattern that I'm seeing now in 9 episodes. So we had Colin on yesterday for Fervent Events up in Toronto, and his first client was a guerrilla program for a payday loan company out in that was actually from Chicago. And there have been a couple of other similar stories of, like, the first client, and I think there's this mindset maybe of brand ambassadors or event workers who go, hey, I want to start an event company, whether it's in swag or staffing or anything. And it's like, you don't start at Mount Everest. It's very rare that you end up with, like, Google your first client out. And you do have to start somewhere. And a lot of those times it's those jobs that, whether it's door hanging or flyering. But if you're really good at that and you have the good foundation, you will grow as a company. So very, very cool. And awesome of your previous company, right? To give you that opportunity. All right. So it seems kind of like a great relationship that you had there, but was there one client that maybe came outside of that relationship where you go, wow, the hype agency, this is big?
Yeah, you know, I was trying to, I think that it might be super, you're going to hear my kids. This is where it gets live. My kids just ran in for a minute. So I would say I've had some great clients through the years. Every year I set myself up to, who do I want to work with? Who is the new big catch for me? And so whenever I get those, I'm excited. You know, I think that I do a lot of research on sort of what's happening in the world and where can we be and how do we grow to this other level. But I think the most important relationships, or that I think that I've liked the most, are the ones that I've had for, 7 years 8 years. Those are the ones that mean the most to me, because we can work through many different brands together. We do work mostly with experiential agencies and less brand direct. So whenever we have an experiential agency that will work with us on multiple campaigns, because we've gotten trust with them with one account team, and they pass us on through other account teams, those are huge wins for us, because it's all our own reputation, and we've solidified, we've grown with them. One of the ones that I'm most proud of, it was our Verizon wireless contract with Momentum. We work very closely with them, and we sit at the table with them, and we talk to them about what ways we can improve things. And there's a lot of times the staffing partner might be sort of white labeled in the situation, or they might not know who we are, and that's completely fine. But in this situation, it is nice that they have us at the table with them to talk through ways that we can do better, ways that we can evolve, and those types of things. So I think that those are really nice. I don't mind sitting in the background and and being that staffing partner, but I also love to be able to contribute, and that takes trust, obviously. Yeah.
For the people that are listening right now, whether it's now or later on, and you just said something, a term called white labeling. Can you just explain really quick what that means for everybody? Yep. Dayna, are you still there? Real quick, everybody, see if Dayna's camera picks back up here. We're here with Dayna Gilchrist, the CEO of the Hype Agency. And we're telling the stories of entrepreneurs and of staffing and event agencies that you otherwise wouldn't hear during this time. So we've been talking with Dayna, and we've learned about her journey through going to school out in New England. And let's see here. Looks like she just dropped. So see if she rejoins here in a minute. But we're learning about a little bit about her journey. So she starts out in New England, ends up working for a event company out there, and then transfers, raises her hand after a few months there, goes out to California, and she's working with that agency for a few years, and all of a sudden says, hey, I think I want to start a staffing agency, and has the support of that company. And so just for everyone right now, if you're still watching with us, we're recapping Dayna's story, and hopefully she rejoins us here in a minute. And so all of a sudden now is doing door hanging stuff for Jimmy Kimmel, and that's their first client. The logo and the name come together, and here we go. I can see you.
Oh, okay.
All right, we're back.
I don't know what happened. Okay, that's the world of virtual, which I'll get into after now.
But that's okay, because I was just recapping your story, and we left off. Where did we leave off at?
You asked me a question, and then my thing went dead.
White labeling.
White labeling, yes.
Just for the people that don't know what white labeling is, what is that?
So certainly. So I would say as a vendor to experiential agencies, there's times where they might want to keep under wraps who they are using for a staffing partner, which is understandable. A lot of times there's just not the need for all parties to be involved with what's happening. Yeah. So, if we were to be white labeled under an agency who says that they hold their own staffing, their own database, or they handle their own staffing internally, we have partners that we're happy to share that feature with them. Because again, at the end of the day, there's so many layers, right? So our brand ambassadors know that they're representing, let's say brands like Coca-Cola in the industry. They're out there, they have the Coca-Cola shirt on. Sure. And so an event agency, an experiential agency called them to hire to set up that event. And those are two now parties involved. To add another layer, another party involved can add confusion to the brand client and to other, parties involved. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's pretty frequent, or it does happen frequently. I know I've been a part of some programs that have been white labeled before myself in previous years. So just for anybody that's listening and wasn't quite sure what that term is, now you know. Let's see here. You did say, before we move on to team, You were talking about clients and how the relationships of 7 to 8 years are really impactful and meaningful to you, right?
Yeah.
This business that we're in of experiential event-based marketing, relationships on a scale of 1 to 10, how important are they?
Oh, 10, 11, 12 through the
Yeah,
roof. I
yeah,
mean, think about reputation as a staffing partner, the reputation that we have with with the brand ambassadors, what, everything that encompasses who we are. We have always said that we need to be truthful and honest with what we're doing. And so I think that, and what I'm proud of as an agency is that we do have that respect both from our brand ambassadors, but also from our clients. And we have that because of that mission, because of who we are, because of what we put out there. And, I can have transparent conversations with clients.
yeah,
Sometimes they don't go well. Sometimes they don't want to hear it. And I get that. But the relationships that have been long lasting, that respect who we are and what we do, because, everybody has, it's difficult in the events world. When I talk
right,
about, what our agency clients deal with permitting and dealing with the weather factors and sponsors bailing and setups and load all that stuff that goes into, and then just working with the clients directly and all the changes that could happen. And then for
yeah,
us, what goes on with brand ambassador work and logistics and people getting out there and reliability and all that stuff. If we both understand the human side of it, that we're both working as hard as we can to make it, make it the best possible, then
yeah,
we can work through those things. And that's relationship. If somebody calls me and they've never worked with us and they found Hype through Google and they just say, hey, we need five girls on Saturday for an event. Usually that's what I consider like an order taker.
yeah,
And we fulfill that request.
yeah,
And they then say, well, they weren't the right look. They didn't do the right thing. They didn't know what they were doing. But if I go back to the emails and say, well, I asked you for those things. We asked you
yeah.
for all that information. And so, yeah, I think relationship is huge, huge, especially in today's world.
Agree. So speaking of relationships, everybody, if you haven't already, we're here with Dayna Gilchrist, CEO of the Hype Agency, learning a little bit about her and her entrepreneurial background in the Hype Agency, how it came to be, and how we know it today. If you haven't already, follow the Hype Agency. Go follow them on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook. The one thing I appreciate a lot about the Hype Agency is I always see a lot of content that includes team and about their team. And so, Dayna, tell us a little bit about your team at the Hype Agency.
So we have an awesome team. So I think our competitive edge comes from our team. We are extremely passionate about what we're doing. We take the time to really understand what our clients' needs are. We talk with our brand ambassadors. So one of the things that you'll learn if you work for us is that, and I'll clear the air now because people probably wonder why we do so much of it, but every time you get into our database and you work with us or you apply for a job, we do interview you. We talk to you. We make sure that you understand what even if you've read through the job post and you are interested in it from that level, we still want to have that conversation with you. So yeah, I mean, my team is extremely passionate. They're very policy driven. They are on top of, from, even though we're in the crazy world of events and marketing, we are also very HR heavy because we are managing the livelihood of thousands of brand ambassadors across the country. So we make sure that your timesheets are getting in on time, that we're getting your payroll in on time. All of our staff are W-2 employees. So, we're making sure that you guys are getting taken care of and answering the right questions for you. So, I think, and that comes from the structure that we have. I mean, we make sure we have fun. We're a really fun group. So we make sure that every day is, we know even some of the most grueling weeks when we're working around the clock and we're checking in at all odd hours, we're making sure that we're checking in with each other. We have a lot of respect for each other. And I think that goes a long way with how we portray to the rest of the world.
I think it does too, because this gives me an opportunity to plug the Hype Agency a little bit. On Trusted Heard, you guys are a pretty large agency, and rank aside, you have almost 450 reviews on Trusted Heard, and 99% of people who have reviewed you said, I want to work with them again. So that's got to feel good about kind of the culture that you've built, but also your team and the messaging that doesn't just happen internally, but happens to your staff out in the field, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. I appreciate that. I think, and again, I take no credit. The team that we have in the office that works day in, day out to talk to people and get work for everybody and to, prioritize the communications and do all the things that they need to do. That's what, that comes from my team. And
Yeah.
so, and I know it's disheartening when they hear something that might be off-putting or something that doesn't, it doesn't make sense. A lot of times we have brand ambassadors that are working for us that might be, managed by a tour manager or something that we don't really have control over. And no, it's not their fault, but that's where those gaps in communication can come in play, where they said that they felt like they were mistreated or something on site. And right away we pull up, if we look at the trusted herd, we say, this doesn't make sense. Like, why this would not be how we would ever treat somebody in the field. So we do respond to those things. I would say to all of your viewers, like, if you listen to this video and then it doesn't make sense to how you were treated in the field, let us know, because obviously that's not how we do business. And we do respect everybody that works for us, and we love you all. We would be nothing without them.
Yeah, and really, just to add to that, there are, for a lot of workers that might not know, that are already in Trusted Herd, companies have the ability to respond to reviews. And the Hype Agency is actually one of those companies that does respond to reviews, because there's something to be said of learning from the past. And when a company does take the time to respond to that, that's a feather in their cap. And give them credit, and feel free to reach out and share that story, because that's how they improve, so that doesn't happen again. And they care, and I think that's really special. Dayna, in your story, I love it, by the way, because you've gone from East Coast to West Coast and then back to East Coast.
Yes.
Do you feel like there's something unique about you that has contributed to your story? Any habits or intangibles that you're like, I'm really thankful that there's this in my personality?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think so one of the sayings I always say is, luck has nothing to do with it. So it's not when someone says, oh, you have your own company, you're so lucky. It like makes me gives me those hives, because it's a lot of hard work. Right. And I would say that I've always put in the work. I've always been present. I think leadership is so important. Whenever you have a company that you want to succeed, you need to be present. You need to be there for your team. They need to feel your energy. They need to know that they have your support. So I was saying to my team just this morning that, because we're remote and we're all on Zoom, how much I was like getting teary eyed, and I said that the hardest thing for me right now is not being around people. I actually thrive. I'm better. I feed off of other people's energies. I need sort of that camaraderie. I need to bounce ideas off of people, those types of things. So, you don't have to necessarily be an extrovert like me, but I would say, having routine to be successful, know what you need in order to get things done. I wake up early, I go to the gym, I take care of my kids, they go off to school, I'm there at work, I come home, I have dinner with my husband and my family, I have my certain things. And I don't know if that's necessarily everyone's formula for success, but for me, that's mine. Yeah.
One thing, if you have something that you might tell young Dayna Gilchrist, who's just starting the Hype Agency, hey, Dayna, if you do this, you'll maybe accelerate a little bit quicker. Is there anything you could think of?
Well, I would just say, enjoy the ride. There's ups and downs. Obstacles make you stronger. The challenges, you will get through. I mean, right now we're all dealing with a major, obstacle in the events world. Yeah. And I'd say there's times when I've had some really difficult times with business, just like anybody else. And somebody not paying, or someone not understanding, what you're worth, or all those things. Know who you are. Stick to your mission while you're there. If you stay on your course, you'll be okay. You just have to enjoy it. And there's going to be times where it's really difficult. And there's going to be times when you can celebrate the successes. We talk about that at work. We celebrate the wins together, because there's times when you can't. So That's all I would say is when I've had times where I maybe missed those opportunities, I would say to my younger self, grab a hold and enjoy the ride because it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, moment by moment. That's really good stuff. We have talked about the relationship that the Hype has with its workers in the field, and I know there's an audience question that I want to get into, so I won't dive too deep into it, but any advice for event workers in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think the things that make a strong brand ambassador in my book is reliability, positive attitude, and being versatile. I think that, we do screen and interview you to put you on the right program so that you can be successful. So, make sure that your resume really shows the different types of work that you can do. And be honest. That's okay if you're the type of person that only likes to work indoors for 8 hours. And because believe me, I have to be picky on what I can do. You want to be honest because like we talked about, Brian and Brian knows, is reputation is huge. So if you put yourself on a program that's not the right fit for you and you don't perform well, you're not going to have another chance because you may have, hurt your reputation in the industry or with the agency. So I would say be honest. Versatile and be reliable. Reliability is huge today.
Yeah. And know yourself. This is a good opportunity because I think, I'm ready to work for the Hype agency. Where would I go to find you? How would I start working for the Hype agency?
Yeah, you go to our website, go to thehypeagency.com. We have, you can go to the talent registration page and sign up and create a profile. Those are things that's super easy. I would make it as fill it out as much as you can. You have time. I think we all have time on our hands right now. So great photos to show candidates of, yourself in the field. Make sure to mark all of your preferences, be accurate with all of that information. That's going to help you. Follow us on Instagram because we always kind of throw out different things that we're doing. We have events that are coming up, or if we are throwing out a big recruitment for a big event that's coming out, we'll put it there. And follow us on Facebook and those types of places.
Very, very good. Everybody don't go there right now. Go there in a couple minutes. How about, this is kind of our last question. And then if anyone has any other questions, Dayna's done an incredible job. Feel free to drop them in the comment section. We can ask 2 to 3 audience questions at the end here. But this used to be, I used to ask this as like an event focused question, but I think in a time like this, everyone is taking this pause, right, to realize what makes them happy in life. And was it the stuff that they were doing before? And if not, what can they do in the future? And so would you have any advice for anyone right now who's thinking about, hey, I maybe want to start a business? Because whether it's now or it's in 5 years, go for it, right? But what would you say?
I would say, if you want to start a business, make sure that you're authentic to what you know you can do. Don't look at books and say this is a successful route, or somebody made their money doing this, or I read this great book about how to open a restaurant, so I'm going to do it, but I have no idea. I don't know anything about food. It has to be something that you're passionate about. It has to be something that you can eat, sleep, and breathe. It has to be something that you can speak intelligently about. I could talk about Hype, with my eyes closed. That doesn't really make sense, but yeah, I could talk. If we had 8 hours in a day for 7 days a week, we could just talk about Hype. And that's because it's not because it's not BS. It's truly how I feel about the company and the need for brand ambassadors and having a strong event staffing agency for our clients, and our clients feel that. So I would just say that, be authentic to what you really want. Don't start a business just because you think that, everybody else is doing it. Do it because it's something that, there's a need for it, and there's something that you can fill and you can be successful at.
Yeah, the authenticity is so key. If you're not authentic, nobody is going to believe what you're saying or selling. All right, so this might be a 2-part question. We're going to see how you answer this first part, and then if I'm understanding this correctly, the second part. What is your philosophy on retaining staff?
On retaining staff in our database, or for it just in general?
I think in general with the Hype agency, like, is there anything that the Hype agency does to retain quality staff or good staff?
Yeah. I would say giving consistent work where we can. I think that a lot of our clients do appreciate when they have brand ambassadors that can work for programs long term, or even like we said, we might have an agency that has multiple brands but wants to work, wants to get that same person on multiple different brands because they've seen how they work. So I think we reward with consistency and trying to give them more work. We do a lot. We have high rates in the industry. I think, we pay on time, we pay well. All of our staff are W-2 employees. So I think retaining them from like a loyalty perspective is important for us, making sure and checking in with them. My team is amazing at just sending them thank yous or spotlighting folks or just, again, those types of things. So I think that, and having those conversations with them as much as possible, rather than just being, an empty hotline or an empty database or a robot, those types of things.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really good. And the information checks out, by the way, because we do have our pay scale on Trusted Herd. And I was like, I wonder, I'm just gonna look at that real quick. But yes, you guys are over. But I think that's really important. And it goes to show you price for quality, right? And you price for the quality that you bring to the table. And it's not always about in picking up clients like, hey, if we cut our rates and we pay workers 17 or 18 an hour, we can make some more money off this, or we can just drop down that top line rate and all of a sudden maybe get a client. And there is a value there in running a business, especially a staffing agency that has the principles and the framework and the base and the foundation. And that's really important. I think for anybody listening, it's something to take away because you should know what you have as a product and quality. Okay, let's see here. This is not me typing this question. As Trusted Herd is becoming more established with the brand ambassador industry, will Hype start checking brand ambassador profiles?
I don't know. That's Stephanie Walfield's question. Just kidding. Yes, I think that's great. Honestly, to be honest with you, I do a lot of it, but I have an amazing team that handles that. So yeah, if that from the perspective of checking how their reputation is in the industry will only help us. And I, to be honest, I'm sure my staff already does. Because they're in there a lot. So, I think any way for us to know ratings and to know how you're doing and, I want to make sure that we're also making some of those judgments on our own, because just as we may get a bad review from somebody that isn't matching with who we are, we want to make sure that we're not just looking at that. We're still talking to you, or we're looking at the reviews of work you've done with us as well. Because again, you could have had a bad day with another agency or something like that. So I think using all of the resources is incredibly important for us to make those decisions.
Absolutely. And for everybody listening right now, we very, very recently dropped a new feature on Trusted Herd called endorsements. So if you know any fellow workers who you think really highly of, go into Trusted Herd right now and endorse them. It takes all of 30 seconds, but you can also endorse their skill set, the types of events they work. And so when you get companies like that, and the reason we did this too, is companies like the Hype Agency and anybody out there, they want to see that whole picture of somebody, right? In addition to talking to them themselves. So it just helps give more of a background on personality and kind of your skill set that you've had in our industry. So we also introduced this for companies, so companies can endorse workers now as well.
Yeah, I would say just to kind of jump off of that similar to creating that full profile is make sure we also in our own database have access to your Instagram and your Facebook pages. Make sure that you're showing your best self. I think that you learn that right out of college, making sure that your resume, really depicts who you are, making sure you don't have one of those, your email address doesn't have some, drug correlation or something like that. Thinking about those things. We do, we don't go there first, but we do have when you do connect your other social media pages to your profile, we are looking at them as a full picture, because we might have a client that's looking for fitness versus, they're looking for health inspired type of brand ambassadors and those things. So use this time right now, if you are not working that much, to brand yourself. Make sure that you're really showing your best light in all the different ways that people can find you.
Yeah, completely agree. All right. If nobody else has any questions, Dayna, I'm gonna any parting words of wisdom or anything that you'd like to tell the community, whether they're listening now or maybe they're catching this in a few days or a few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you bringing me on to just talk through my story. I do love telling our story. It brings back. It's always nice to just like remember where we came from, and I know everybody out there has different ways of being here. Sorry, I'm now getting so many calls. So to end, I would just say, I know it's a crazy time right now. People are going to come back to live events. I know it. We're talking to clients again. Of course, there's nothing solidified in terms of when everything will start to ramp up again, but it might be a slow process. So use this time to use as a reset for yourself. I use it as a time, like I said, to figure out what you want once we come back and we start getting busy again. Talk to fellow, brand ambassadors and to other folks and make sure that you put yourself out there in the best light. And we're excited. I mean, I think that it's a crazy time and we're all dealing with it, but we're happy to get back to work just like you guys are.
Yeah. Very, very cool. Dayna, I would like to thank you for being part of episode 9 and of course, sharing your story as an entrepreneur and as the Hype Agency. Everyone, if you're watching, we have these booked every day, every weekday. I do take the weekends off. That's my break time. But every weekday through the end of April, and we actually got a couple spots for May. So if maybe I'll probably ask a question in the Facebook group maybe tomorrow if there's any agencies that you want to hear from, because then I can bring them on and I'd love to get their story because I think these are so unique and special, and it's just a way that we can take advantage of this unfortunate time where we can learn more about the companies that we know so well. So tomorrow we have Bridget and David with Grassroots Demos. So I actually think that's kind of our first core food and beverage demo company. So that'll be good if you're into that. Thursday, we have Edwin Goitia, who just started Final Stretch Events. So that's a unique story for brand ambassadors and transitioning to running a company and starting one. Friday, we have Mandy Flanders with Oxford Marketing. And I think I started updating the schedule for next week too. So again, thank you all so much for watching. This is really becoming like the highlight of my day because Frozen 2 4 times a day is starting to wear on me. So again, thanks again, and we will see you tomorrow. All righty.
Thank you. Bye.